going to do today is take a look at finding the slope of the equation of y. Slope-intercept form. This is nothing new for you. You should have seen this at least 2 or 3 times prior to this. So, here we go. Now we've done something like this already. How do I determine the slope going from one to the other? Now, first offhand here, this is always going to be rise over run. Always. Run, we always want to try and go to the right. After all, we read from left to right, correct? Now, the rise can be of 2 kinds. It can either be a positive or a negative. If it goes up, it's positive. If it goes down, it's negative. So, what I want to look at here is my points. If I take a look at this, how far do I have to go to the right and how far up to get to the next point? 1, 2, right? And then I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this is always going to get written in the form of a fraction. So what number goes on top? 4. What number goes on the bottom? 2. Can I simplify? Should I simplify? Always. So I could leave this as 2 over 1. I could also write it as simply 2, depending upon what we need. We'll write it in either one of the 2 ways. Starting to kind of make sense? Of course, now we got to make this even better, right? So, this little thing right here, you should definitely make sure is in your little book, okay? Along with that wonderful piece of information that I just had. The other thing you got to remember is we're looking at coordinates here. That would be x1, comma, y1, and x2, comma, y2. I mean, we've already dealt with this stuff before when we're looking at the distance between points, right? So that part shouldn't be too much of a baffling situation, right? So, next thing. Does this possibly cover all of the lines? And the answer is no, it doesn't. There are 2 lines that wouldn't necessarily be covered under this. What happens if I have a fraction that looks like this? 0 over my run. Whoops. We're always helps color to spell, right? So my run is going this way, but I'm not going up at all. What kind of a line would I have? Horizontal line. Going like this. Yes. Now the slope here would be identified as a 0 slope. What happens if I've got one that looks like this? Where I have rise, but absolutely 0 run. This would end up being a vertical line because it's going to go up or down. Just has infinite rise, doesn't have any run. So this would end up, like you said, being vertical. And this would be identified as no slope. Okay? And sometimes they say it's an undefined slope, depending upon which book that you're taking a look at, which author you're dealing with at the time. But no slope or undefined slope, those are going to be the 2 things that will be identified. Fairly easy stuff. So like I said, you've seen this stuff before. So, anybody need a little more time to finish writing? So, let's try this. Slope-intercept form. This form of y is equal to mx plus b is probably one of the most important equations when it comes to a linear equation. This form, we use it for quite a few things. Kind of leads us into the idea of a function later on. But we need to know what pieces are what. So, m, well, that's simply going to be our slope. Okay? You know, rise over run. So once we do that, we can always use that to figure out what m is. If we know what our rise over run is, that's always going to be m. Now the next thing we got here is this b. That's the y-intercept. And for those of you that want a translation for it, that's what this means. Goes through the y-axis at b. Now those two pieces of information, I can graph any line that I want. Any line that I'm given, anything that's there, I can figure it out from there. So, we need a little more time getting started. So, let's give this a whirl. I want to write the equation of this line. So, if I'm going to write the equation of any line, I need to have y is equal to mx plus b. I've got to identify those things. Now, do I see enough information to identify slope? So I got y is equal to my slope. Well, I got a point here and a point here. I know how to count that up. So it's going to be over 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, got that. 2 over 6, or 6 over 2, I should say, correct? So I got 6 over 2, rise over run, 3 over 1. And in this case, I am simply going to want to use a 3. Okay? Make it as easy as I can. X plus B. Now, where is this thing going through the y-axis? Well, I got the y-axis, so I keep going down, and I keep going down, and I keep going down, and I see that it goes through down here. Now, can I identify it as an exact point? From this graph, does it show me exactly where it goes through? And I would say yes. It appears to be going through at what? -1. So if I wanted to write this equation out, it would be y is equal to 3x minus 1. That's all it would be. No more, none less. Problem is, it's not always that easy, is it? What happens if I got to do this? I'm supposed to write the equation of a line that has a slope of 2/3 that passes through -2. That doesn't sound good. Okay. Well, do I have enough information to try and draw this up? Do I have an idea of where it's going through or where the point is on the graph? I'm given this right here, correct? -2, 1, 2, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that this is going to be a point on here, right? Do I have any information about slope, how to go from one place to the next? Oh, that's right here, right? How far does it say I have to move? 3 up 2, and to the right, 3. So if I go 1, 2 over 3, 1, 2, 3, point right there. I go up 1, 2 over 3, 1, 2, 3. I go up 2, 1, 2 over 3, 1, 2, 3. Do I have enough there to kind of draw myself out a line? So I'm going to draw myself out a line. Let's see, this going from here up to there. So grab this, just make it a little bit longer. So I know what my slope is. I know that I am going to have to write this out as y is equal to 2/3 x plus. Now, can I use this line to go and say, hey, you know what? I think it goes through right there at 5. Okay, I drew that line, right? Is my drawing always accurate? Is your drawing always accurate? Yeah, you'd like to think so. Sometimes that's not the case. Now, do I have more information that I can work with here? Well, I don't know what B is, but do I have any information about X and Y? Yeah, I got X and Y information right there. So what we can do here is use our algebra. It's always a fun thing, isn't it? Because you know how to take algebra with one variable missing and solve for it, right? So what happens here, I'm going to put in my number for Y. Do I have a number for Y? 4. Okay. It's going to be equal to, and I still have my 2/3. Do I have a number for X? -2. Do I know what B is? No. It's just B. Now, everything else here is just plain old numbers, right? I can work with this and figure out what the answer for B is, right? Okay, that's what we end up having to do. If we don't have enough information, we plug it back into it, that information we have, and solve. So I'm going to go through here and do the math here. So we end up with 4 is equal to -4/3 plus B. Let's see, I add 4/3 to both sides. Add 4/3. 4 is the same as 12/3, yes? Okay. So that gives me 16/3 is equal to B. If I simplify that down, that comes to 5 1/3 is equal to B. Now that I know that information, and I look at this where it intersects, does it look like it's hitting it right on 5 or really super close to it? Close. So when we were drawing this out, we said, okay, it's close to it. 5 1/3. Is 5 1/3 pretty close to 5? Is it good enough to write the equation? Is it enough to give us an idea of where things are on the line? Yeah. So our equation turns out to be as follows. Y is equal to 2/3 x plus 5 1/3. Now I realize that this is a whole boatload of work. So guess what I should see on your assignments? A whole boatload of work, right? Because you can't do this in your head. I don't even want to do it. It gives me a headache. So, write it out so that you can see what you're doing on it. So, let's try this one. I want to graph the equation of that line, right? Do I have enough information to do it? What do I need? I need to know what my slope is. Do I know what my slope is? Yeah, -5/1. And what does this tell me here? Where it goes through the y-axis, so I can put a point there, right? So, my point would go 1, 2, 3 right here, correct? And where would my next point go? Over 1 and down 5. Okay, so I usually go up or down first and then always to the right, but you are correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. Okay, so I've got my line there. That. Go through there. Now, of course, you guys would be using a ruler, right? Or a straight edge or something like that. But that's all it takes. That's the easy one, isn't it? Okay. Now, like I said, you've graphed this stuff before. Don't let it bother you. That's in the nice form. Y is equal to mx plus b. Always a good form to have it in. Now, is that in the form that we need? What form do we need it in? Absolutely right. So I want to make this thing look like y is equal to mx plus b. Now, here we have to use that wonderful thing called algebra again. 2y minus 4x is equal to 7. Well, if I look at this, y is here, everything else is on the other side, so I'm going to add 4x to both sides. 2y is equal to 4x plus 7. Is that what you'd expect? Okay. Now, how do I get rid of that 2? Divide. So I divide by 2 here, divide this side by 2 here. Now, what I tell students to do here, y is equal to put each one over 2. 4x over 2. 7 over 2. Never, ever, ever try and simplify things in the middle. Wait until you get down to this. Now do the final thing. Y is going to be equal to 4 over 2 is 2, right? Plus, and that's 3.5. Now, can I identify 3.5 on that graph there? 1, 2, 3.5 would be right about there. Would that make sense? So now how far do I got to go? Up or down? Up how far? 2. So I go up 2, 1, 2, and then over 1. Notice how it stays in the middle. Because I started in the middle, and if I got to go up 2 steps, I got to go up 2 steps and end up in the middle again. So, keep going up 2, 1, 2 over 1. 1, 2 over 1. So, do I have enough points out there? Sure. Are they in a line? Sort of, kind of. So, seems simple enough. So, why don't you try? Let me give you a minute or so and let you figure out what this could possibly be. Let's see who we can do. Upgrades. Here. What do you believe the slope is for this particular line? Well, I got 2 points here. What could I do? Okay, so you would suggest that we use the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So which one would you want to be the first coordinate? Okay, so this is going to be our first ones, and this is going to be the second one, correct? So that means that I would end up getting 2 minus 8, do you agree? Over 1 minus 3. Does that make sense? So what's 2 minus 8? Well, that would be negative 6. What is 1 minus 3? Well, that would be negative 2. And if I simplify that down, would I end up getting 3 over 1? Okay. So what we end up happening here is we have identified that we have a slope of 3. Now, is there another way I could have done it? Yeah. How far is it from 1 over to 3? Well, that's 1, 2. That's 2 places, correct? How far up would I have to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'd have 6 over 2. Well, doesn't that simplify to 3 over 1 or just plain old 3? So if you have the coordinates on there, by all means count them. Not a problem. If you just have the coordinates and you don't know where they're sitting, then it's probably best to go through and use this formula for slope. Either one will work. Just make sure that you use the other. So does that take care of that, Kira? Cool. Let's try this. Give you a minute or so and let you think about this. There we go. Chris, what'd you come up with? You got 1. Sure? Okay, so let's check it out. Let's see, I'm going to call this going to be my first coordinate. That's going to be my second coordinate. So I'm going to take 4 minus 2 over 3 minus 1. So that gets me 2 over 2, which goes to 1. Absolutely correct. Not that I doubted you. Okay. Plug it in, write it out, show the work. Makes life a lot easier. So let's give this one a whirl. Okay? See if you can come up with this. Logan, if I am going to go and write the equation of a line, what is the first thing that I need to make sure that I have identified, that I know? Or I should say, what's the formula or the form that it needs to be in? Would it be, I mean, I think you're looking right at it. Is it this bit? Is that what we always want to start with? Yeah. So we always want to go to this y is equal to mx plus b. That's the form that we want to have. So the next thing I want to do is try and identify what this is, which is going to be the slope. So Jason, what's slope? Okay, so we got the points. Can you give me a point to work with? Or should I put it this way? Let's see. Could this be a point right here? Okay. And that point would be, say, 0, 4. Does that make sense? And could this be a point right down here? So that would be 4, 2. Now, it doesn't matter whatsoever if I want to do it that way, or if I say, okay, if I go down 1 and over 2, I get another point, don't I? If I go down 1 and over 2, I get a point, right? So what I end up with here for slope is going to be 1 over 2. Next question. Positive or negative? Are you sure? Stake your life on it? Good, because it's going downhill as we go from left to right, correct? So the slope has to be negative. So, let's try this. Let's see, that ain't gonna work. So Ty, what is the y-intercept on this? 4. Absolutely correct. So, would the equation look like this? Y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 4. Is that what the equation should be? Yeah. Goes through the y-axis at 4, goes down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. Good. Take this a piece at a time. Don't try and look at it and go and grab everything at one time. Start with this. Ask yourself, what is the slope? How do I get from one point to the next? Where does it go through the y-axis? So, let's give this a whirl. Give you a minute or so, play with that. Test. Where should I start to come up with the equation on this line? Okay. Into what equation? Good starting point. Y is equal to mx plus b, so what you wrote down was y is equal to 3 over 2x plus b, yes? Okay. Now, do I know where it's going through the y-axis? No. So, here we go. Next thing. Feather. Here are the results. You could write 1 1/2 for the slope. The problem is when we start working with this from an algebraic standpoint, we need to have it in the form of an improper fraction. That's the only way to work with it, because mixed numbers, that's what we end up changing it into. So now, next. Oh, I didn't get Feather's question, did I? So, do I know what B is, Feather? No. Do I know what Y is? Are you sure? If I've got this over here, do I have an idea what Y could be? Yeah. So Y is going to be the -4, right? Then I've got, I said -1. Sorry. Then I've got the 3 over 2. And what would X have to be here? 4. Well, that's the wrong one. Okay, and I'm still left with plus B. So now I got to do the algebra, right? So that means that I would cancel 2 and 4 and I get 2, right? So I get -1 is equal to 6 plus B, subtract 6, and I get -7 is equal to B. So what this boils down to is that our equation is Y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 7. There's more than one way to do this, yes. From 4 to -1? Yeah. Yeah. That'll work. Well, you can't always get by with that, though, if you're dealing with some rather funny-looking numbers. And this one was nice and close to 0, so you know that you just moved over 1 unit, you'd be okay. So, let's give this a try. This one's a little bit more on the tricky side, so I'm going to give you a little more time. So, there you go. So, here we are. And the question was, do I know anything about X? I at least know 2 things about X. Do I know things about Y? I know at least 2 things about Y. I got 2 coordinates sitting here, right? So, could I do this and say that Y is equal to 2, 4/5? Well, I'm going to actually say it's equal to -2. And what would I put in for X then? 0 plus B. Now, if I look at this, 0 times that just disappears, right? -2 is equal to B. Now, one of the catches that you could have noticed is that I've got 0, -2. 0, -2 is always going to identify where the y-intercept is. If this is 0, whatever number you've got there, y-intercept. So that means the equation should look like this. Y is equal to 4/5 x minus